Yo, what's up, fam? Welcome back to Healing Mindset, the space where we stop powering through and start actually healing like it matters. I'm your host, Yusuf, and today's episode is a full on mindset upgrade with a spiritual edge and some real world tools you can use before your next spiral. My guest today is Dayna Wylder. Dayna's story is not the positive vibes only version of healing. She lived years in suppression and disconnection, emotion locked down, intuition muted, living from the neck up. Then came a poor prognosis. And instead of collapsing into fear, she made a decision, healed from the inside out. She rebuilt layer by layer, physical first, yoga, running, breathwork, clean, intentional nutrition, then mindset, meditation, subconscious belief work, then emotional body and nervous system, trauma stored memory, regulation, safety, and then she stepped into energy medicine, PEMF, biofield tuning, sound healing, frequency, bioresonance, and most recently, hypnotherapy as a fast track for people who struggle with meditation or want deeper rewiring. So, yeah, this episode is for anyone who's tired of understanding their healing and ready to actually embody it. With that, I welcome my guest, Dana, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love having these conversations of hope and inspiration.
Yeah, perfect. Let's get into it. So, Dana, gratitude gets tossed around like a cure, like something that can cure everything. But when is in pain, it can feel fake or even invalidating. How do you teach gratitude in a way that's real and not spiritual bypassing?
Gratitude for me is central to healing. And it was actually something one of my first clients, she had asked me, and she was an older woman that was actually so sick. She couldn't even come to my house. I had to buy cases to carry my equipment to her house. And she asked me, how did I start healing? Like, what was step number one? And it took me a while to answer, but I stand by that answer still today. And it was having gratitude before I had anything to be grateful for. And I remember the first time that I really started to and you're right, it's not just the fake gratitude of just saying the words. You have to
Yeah.
actually feel it. It has to come from within. And at
Mm.
this point, I was laying on the floor, because all I could do was sit supported because my trunk didn't even hold up, so I couldn't keep myself upright. So I could either lay back on the couch or lay down on the floor and then wait for somebody to come home to move me to somewhere else. And so all I had was my mind and laying there. And, it's the first reaction is to be angry, right? And you want to get kind of mad. Why did this happen to me? Poor me. Why did it, I think I'm better maybe than this other person, or I ate better than them, or I already exercised, and you start to go outward more anger, right? More frustration, more low energy. And as I lay there, I started to think, that kind of thinking is what got me sick. And I needed to think and feel and live differently if I wanted to create the biochemistry, the mindset, the landscape to heal. And as I lay there thinking about the gratitude, I thought, well, there's still always something to be grateful for. First of all, that I'm still alive, that I could still breathe, right? That I had somebody that had put me on the floor and was gonna come home later and help me. And that I still had a strong mind, so I could use my mind to try to help my body. And, once you start and you feel those small levels of gratitude, just like thinking negative can become habitual, thinking positive and having gratitude also becomes habitual. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes and the more it exponentially grows. And, it's something I started practicing with my family at dinner times. And in the beginning, it was very hard, especially with teenage kids, to want to get them to say they're grateful. But,
Yeah.
once we were doing it for a few months, I started to notice that they would all interrupt each other, and not interrupting because they were being rude, but interrupting because something that somebody else said inspired something in them, to also want to share. And I thought, so it is something that seems almost so simple that it can't be real or effective, but it is. The simple things sometimes are the most meaningful ones.
You know, that hits hard because you're basically saying that gratitude isn't pretending life is perfect. It's like training the nervous system to notice safety, or maybe your privileges in those tiny absurd moments when you feel that life is falling apart. And healing is between those layers in them.
Yeah, so, this is one of the things we talk about in hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming is it's not the content of what happens to you, it's the context that you give it. So we can't help the content. So I was sick. I was laying on the floor. I had MS. That's what is. And we live in with what is, not what if, right? It's already happened. Here I am. But what kind of meaning could I make from that? And how can I frame that? And there was a lot of ways to frame it. One was I, for the first time in my life, got to slow down and really be with myself. Up until that point, I had disconnected when I was younger, trying to escape through drugs, alcohol, numbing myself. And then later in life, even once I had stopped those negative health habits, I was still a single mom and I was still climbing the corporate ladder and I was still on autopilot from day to day, starting my morning with hurry up, get ready, get your shoes, where's your bag, let's go, daycare, subway to work, back, brownies, swimming lessons. I never enjoyed any of my life. I wasn't present in any of it. But all of a sudden, the MS gave me an opportunity for the first time in my life to really look around and understand who am I really? What do I really want? What's my purpose? And I think some other people, and hopefully people don't have to hit so hard and come so low in order to grow. For me, clearly, as gentle whispers weren't enough in my life. I needed something to give me a full stop, but it did. And it gave me an opportunity to be here speaking to you. I wouldn't be here doing this now, healing people, living in alignment. I would still be miserable in my corporate job, grudging along with low level depression and anxiety, unless the MS forced me, was a catalyst to push me into something higher. Because we don't grow branches that are high and beautiful to the sky unless we have roots that are equally in the depth. And roots are in the dark. They're uncomfortable. They push through rocks, they push through drought, right? It's not beautiful growing roots, but
Yeah.
those deep roots allow you to climb high. And so, sometimes you have to accept where you are and the duality of life and be grateful even in your pain because the pain can become a cure.
Yeah. Talking about mental movies, the brain replaying past trauma or forecasting worst case features. What actually happen in the body when those mental movies start rolling in our brain?
Well, I mean, they can be for the better or worse, depending on what movie you're playing, what script is playing in the background. And for most of us, it's a negative script because we're not aware of what's going on. When we're in conscious awareness, which is only, we're only conscious 5% of the time. Even when that's conscious, most of the time we're not present in the moment. We're consciously thinking about the future or the past. And
Mm.
so now we're really taking our present awareness to fractions of maybe 1% of the time. And when we're in autopilot, we're in the subconscious, right? Where we're running on automated programs, which is that mind movie. Now, it's possible to tap into that subconscious and to reprogram it and to speak to it. But when you say have a negative mind movie playing, it because our belief patterns and how we structure our reality determines the type and quality of the thoughts we have. The thoughts about something will determine what emotions we have about them. And the emotions is kind of now the bridge to the nervous system because our limbic system is going to be activated, our nervous system, our fight or flight. We're going to have a cascade of chemical bioreactions in the body, neurotransmitters, and different types of things, right? Cortisol level, adrenaline. And we're now bathing the body in this chemistry of negative emotions and negative
Yeah.
chemistry. And that's playing all day long over and over. Where when we start to tap into these things and start to really get to the root of like all of those things that I framed when I was younger, when I didn't have resources, because a lot of them happen when we're under 7, where we're living in theta wave. It's imagination time. So we're living in like self hypnosis then, or hypnosis from our culture, from our parents. And even well meaning, you don't have to have had bad parents for them to negatively program you. I hear myself even knowing this, saying it to my kids sometimes, like, "Well, is that really practical? Are you sure you're gonna do that?" And I'm putting these limiting things and I catch myself and I go, "Well, I'm only saying it because I love them and I want the best for them." But how their little brains are processing it is, "She doesn't believe in me. She doesn't think I could do it." Like, and so I'm not saying that people are perfect, but as we work on the trauma and the inner child and some of these things, and we mentally practice the movie we want to live in, then all of those hormones of health and happiness and vitality, the ones that energize us, will exist in those as well, right? So it now becomes not only a conscious choice, but also the ability to maybe tap into some of these things like hypnosis or meditation or something that takes you a little deeper and gets kind of below the surface level that you might not even be aware you have these limiting beliefs.
Okay. Let's just say that I am stuck in a bad movie. I am currently facing it. Is there a very, interruption, that first minute interruption or practice that someone can practice maybe for a minute or two that can actually rewrite or reverse the whole script?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I mean, one is when you're making your mind movie, is to see it always in something positive. So, say when people are trying to quit smoking or an addiction, and you're saying, "I don't want to smoke," the subconscious doesn't understand a negative. You always have to frame it in, "I want to have clear, healthy lungs," or "I want to be able to run," or
Mhm.
you see it as like a positive intention, and it's always future paced where you've already done it. Because if you're saying something like, I hope to be healthy or I hope to lose weight. Hope is saying that you don't have it now, that you're still trying to strive towards it. Where if you said that I am healthy, right? Or I have already gotten healthy, you're living already as if that you've tapped into the quantum field where you've collapsed all the other potentials and you've said, no, the one that I'm going to live in is this potential. And then our mind works in like different submodalities. So we all have a predominant one, but a mix of them all, and they're all important. So some of us will be visual processors, some will be auditory, and some will be kinesthetic, which is feeling. So when you're making your mind movie, it's always to start where you think that you're predominant. So say for most of us, it is visual. You would start to, close your eyes and imagine yourself in the future in the scenario you want to be in. And while you're there now, you're going to see, what do I look like? How's my clothes? How am I walking around? What does it look like? And you're going to try to intensify all the positive feelings by being in the first person. So you're not seeing yourself in the image, you're being in it, like 360 panoramic. You're turning the brightness up, the clarity is up. You're really seeing yourself in it. And then you're moving into the auditory and you're saying, well, what is my internal dialogue saying to myself while I'm in this? What are other people saying to me? Is there music in the background? Because music, I mean, think about, doesn't matter what kind of music you like, play that favorite song and it can be something from when you were 13 and you hear it on the radio and you're like, I remember that summer. That was amazing. I like you feel energized. So putting an audio track to your mind movie helps too. I'm thinking about turning the volume up, like, let's really feel it. And then being embodied in it too. So how does it feel when I'm this person? Like, am I more open? Am I more loving? Do I smile more? Does my body feel lighter and freer? Am I moving more gracefully? And how are other people moving towards me? And how does it feel to be in this space? And when you intensify all of those things purposely, it really gets now into that subconscious and it starts to form new neural connections and patterns. In the same way that you had negative thinking, when you practice these things over and over and over, whatever fires together, wires together, right? And so over time, you will create the neural pathways, just like athletes, that practice the same sport over and over become amazing at it. Or once you ride a bike, you always know how. The same thing with being happy and putting yourself in the scenario where this is reality. And believe it, it has already happened because it has, right? There's infinite timelines and matter is just, it's still a wave until we observe it. And when we observe it, we collapse it down into matter. So we observe what it is that we want. So our intention and our mind doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. It experiences it in the body the same way. So let's start imagining first. And that's important for people like when I was so sick laying on the floor, I was making mind movies about hiking with my dog and kayaking. And you know what? All of those things came true. And that was a huge leap from where I was crawling and blind to now I'm kayaking by myself in Costa Rica at the bottom of a volcano, right? And that's only in 2 years. And so, I think dream big. I don't know what your dream is and the people that are listening right now, where they're starting and where they wanna go, but, you have to first see yourself there, put yourself there, and you will get there.
Yes. Let's talk about NLP and reprogramming. For for me and listeners who are not very well aware of what is NLP is, please tell us in the simplest words.
Yeah, so neurolinguistic programming is a way to get congruency or coherence between the subconscious and the conscious mind. So most of us will say, I want to be healthier. And right now, New Year's is coming up, and everybody will set an intention. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And they'll start with good intentions. But if your conscious thought, which we just said 5% of the time you're only living there, doesn't match with subconscious belief, then over time, you're going to self sabotage because your subconscious is more predominant. It's what's running the background programs. So if your background program says, you know what? When I was young, somebody hurt me. And so if I'm overweight, maybe I'm less attractive and I won't get hurt again. So actually being overweight is a self-protection mechanism. And so your subconscious is never working against you. It doesn't hate you. It's not out to get you. Most of those programs were formed when you didn't know how to have the resources and the intelligence yet to actually frame what happened to you correctly. So you have to get into those things. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. There's a lot of modalities in neurolinguistic programming, but a powerful one for something like that is even just pattern interrupt. So if I have clients, like I could think of one recently that was very stuck in this like script where she would tell me every single thing that had ever happened to her physically. Well, first it was this, and then this. And I thought every time I would hear, I wonder how many times she says it to her colleagues and to her partner and at family events, where every time she would start, you just ask a simple question like, how many windows are in your house? What was the color of your first car? And all of a sudden that loop that's internally in the brain just snaps out of it and it goes, what? Wait, oh, my first car, and they have to go back and think about it. And those seem like really small things, and I know for some people when they're listening, they think, those things can't be that powerful, but your brain is, very much like a computer in a lot of ways. And so if you can think about it in this way where you have a lot of control over the programming in it, and there are all these kinds of tools. Neurolinguistic programming is very powerful and very effective, I find with my clients.
Okay. And let's talk about your journey. Your journey went from physical, mental, emotional, nervous system, and energy medicine, now hypnotherapy. A lot of people hit a plateau and assume they are falling. Why do you think that plateau happens?
Because I don't think that people are reaching, first of all, it holistically to see all of it. They're only treating at one entry point, and we're not just one thing. Our body is the 5 coaches. So we are physical body, and energy body, mental, intellect, and a bliss body. And if we when most of us start in the physical because we have this illusion that we are a physical being. So we start there, and that's where I started too. And even when I first practiced yoga, it was very much the asanas and the poses. It wasn't a spiritual path yet. I didn't really understand the bigger picture. I just thought, oh, it just makes you flexible and lose weight, right? So I'll do yoga. And and then I ate the diet and I gave up the foods and I gave up smoking and drinking. And I did get better. Physical body matters, but I plateaued at a certain point because I didn't have enough energy in my body to sustain. So my meridians, my chakra, the nadis, whatever that subtle energy that we definitely feel, we can tell when it's in a line and when it's not, but we have no way to measure it, at least yet. That we, need that energy in the body to do the biochemistry. So then I started discovering things like PEMF that artificially charge the voltage of your cells. And it would work and I would feel better. My eyesight would restore. I would have the energy, but eventually it would fade and I would have to treat again and then treat again because my body still wasn't holding the charge. And then you start to wonder, okay, so I've got all these other things, right? What else is next? Well, everything is governed by physics. Physics comes first of all the sciences. Physics is what orders the universe. It is the logos, the logic. It is the information field. If the information field gets corrupted, through, many things like dissonant frequencies, emotional toxic relationships, and, bad food and the Wi-Fi and all of these dissonant frequencies. Once it gets out of homeostasis, if you don't restore the blueprint and the instructions remain corrupted, then you don't have the right instructions. Like there's no architect telling the electricians like what to do, which then go down to the workers, which is the chemistry in the body. Like, you need to have something at the top that's directing the correct information. So for me, then you go into the mindset now, right? And now it's like getting deeper into meditation and how to lock into that part of your mind that you don't know that it's corrupted, right? And so it was one layer after another of discovering, what the full picture of healing was. And I still say all of those things are important. Like, you still have to eat the diet. You can't just do energy medicine and then just think everything is fine. But the energy medicine is going to unblock the things that are blocked. It's gonna, rebalance the body, but then it still requires action in the real world to take care of the physical body. So we can't ignore that either. It's just unfortunately in Western medicine and the way we live in the world now, we only kind of ever stay there, which is why most people never get all the way better.
Dana, are there any ways that our listeners can connect with you?
Yeah, so my new book just came out. It's in Amazon just in the last 2 weeks. That's Unlearn Disease, Relearn Well-Being. And that's just my own journey through healing, but it's also all the practical tools. There's lots of activations in there for things that people can actually start doing themselves. And then you can find me on my website, energyovermatter.com. And then from my website, you can join a free healing circle. I meet once a month with people live and we do group healing. And then also from there, you can find all my socials, which everything is under Energy Over Matter.
Perfect. And is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I just want people to know that healing is possible. And I know for a lot of people, they get these prognosis and then they start to go into fear and they ruminate about the future and like, what if? And they stop living their dreams and they stop living up to their full potential because they feel like they need to hold themselves back because of this diagnosis. But it is not a life sentence. I mean, some of us unfortunately are born with something. And, if you're born with, a missing chromosome or something happens, that the blueprint maybe can't restore because its origin was already that pattern. For the rest of us, it's been death by a thousand cuts. We have done small injury one after another, layered on top of another. And healing is possible if we start to just pull back off those layers. And it is possible and have hope. Like it's not just for me to heal. And there's so many other people on the internet. You can hear so many stories of spontaneous, miraculous. I wouldn't say mine was spontaneous. Mine took a lot of work to get there. But even if yours takes work too, you're worth the work. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not something even to overcome. Like there's beauty even in wherever you are right now. So be grateful right now and hold hope that in the future things can manifest the way you envision them.
Dana, thank you so much for bringing the real, layered inside out kind of wisdom to all of us.
You're welcome. It was really my pleasure to be here.
And to everyone listening, if you love this conversation, hit follow, drop a review, and send this to your group chat. Because healing isn't a solo sports, it's a ripple. This has been Mindset, a Healing Mindset with your host Yusuf, featuring Dayna Wylder. And until next time, I'll see you.